Welcome to Master Muse, Dave Raynor, Grammy Award-winning Dave Raynor. I'm very excited to have you today.
Thank
We
you.
did have a little bit of trouble getting started, but normally it's me. So we'll just say it was me again.
Okay, blame it on me. That's fine.
No, it's me. It's all my fault. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that we worked it out. It took us a minute to get here today. The backdrop is stellar. I just said that, but I want to make sure that's a part of it. It's really nice.
Move that over there and get all those guitars in there.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I'm so envious of people who play the guitar. Oh. I play the piano, which I did a little when we first, just to give you a little.
I was told it's a curse, but that's
what's a curse?
A curse, being a guitar player.
Why?
Geez, because you always say yes
to what every opportunity that comes along. It's like, we need you to play and you're like, okay.
Those days are over, but it was that way.
Okay. Why is that a bad thing? You don't want to play?
Yeah, but where it takes you sometimes is dark.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take it back to the very beginning when maybe it was lighter and breezier.
Yeah. Tell
me about what started music in your household. What were mom and dad doing? Were they playing things on a record player? Was it in the car? What kind of music?
It was everywhere.
It was everywhere.
My mom and dad met in Germany during the war, and my dad was in the Navy and my mom was a British gal who her father was in Germany at the time, and she had two other sisters, and they all got on this bus and went to this big band dance. I think it was actually Glenn Miller or something like that. And it took place in an airplane hangar. And my dad walked up to my mom and asked her to dance, and they went out and jitterbugged and cleared the floor.
Oh, I love it.
So needless to say, she got pregnant. He found her and married her in the church that Pocahontas is buried in England. And they came across through Ellis Island, and we wound up in Camas, Washington, which is right across the river from where, ironically, I am now.
Wow.
And so music was everywhere, everywhere. Mom and dad danced. My mom bought the first Beatle album for me. It was music everywhere.
And what about siblings? Do you have older, younger?
I had an older brother who was getting there in the music business. He was a little distracted. He passed away in 1975. He did a recording on Liberty Records with the help of Dick Clark, and it was a pretty good record. It was real competitive with say Gary Puckett and the Union Gap, and it was of that era. And
what was his name?
Mike Raynor. Okay. And he was in a band called the New Dawn.
Okay.
And they got a contract. They were down in Hollywood and doing that whole thing. And then so nothing really came of it. They didn't. The 45 was kind of a, testing the waters to see, and they never got the album done or an album done. But so that's Mike, and then my sister. I was the second oldest. I have a sister and a younger brother. They never really. They were musical, but they never really pursued that sort of a thing. God bless them.
But at home when you were a kid, was it something like we would have music on and everybody would be dancing and playing, or were people picking up instruments before, let's just say, graduating high school?
We had a piano and people would go doodle, but there was no serious stuff. I was the only one in the house that had a guitar, and I was practicing. And so it was pretty much me that was pursuing all that. And Mom and Dad would let our bands practice in the basement, and we'd cause all kinds of noise. But they never.
How did you get your first guitar?
Pardon me?
How did you get your first guitar?
Oh, God.
Tell me the story of the very first one.
Man, you're taking me back. Christmas. For Christmas, there was a guitar player that was in my brother's band when they were in Camas, Washougal. And his name is Ron. I think he's passed away now. I'm not sure. He was alive a few years ago. His name is Ron Bobbitt. And Ron Bobbitt to me was like George Harrison. he was the guy. Well, he had an old Fender Mustang, one of those army green looking things. And Dad bought it for me for Christmas, and a little Fender amp.
Wow.
And when they brought that out, man, it was like, I'd been given a Marshall stack or something.
How old were you?
Oh God, 12.
Nice. Good age. Good age to start.
Yeah.
Did it keep you out of trouble, or did it help you find it?
No, I'd say quite the opposite.
Okay.
No, I wasn't as much trouble as all that, but our pursuit of doing, being the town band, which we became, we did all the weekend oof hall gigs and the high school gigs, and we were the go-to band. The only other bands around were in Vancouver, Washington. Bands like Benny Davis and the Days of Night, and they were hard to beat. You couldn't beat them.
What was your band name?
I forget.
Come on.
Oh, I think it was called Braniff or something. We looked at that Braniff airplane and it was so ugly, and we said, let's call ourselves that. Well, I think that's what we did.
I mean, I think that's one of my favorite things about the new bands, when you're young or whatever, it's like how you come up with a name is generally not really well thought out. It's just like, how about this? And everybody goes, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I love it.
And then you make something of it and it becomes a big deal.
Right.
It's an odd thing.
I knew that the Beatles would end up being one of the most amazing bands of all time.
Well, sure.
It's called the Beatles.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, but synonymous with
Grand Funk Railroad. I mean, what's up with that?
Right. I teased my kids when they were young that there was a band, like a boy band called 5 Seconds of Summer. I was like, that's a phrase. That's not a band name. And now they go by 5 Sauce. And I was like, that's even worse. I don't understand it. I'm not a big fan of the multiple word band names. Yeah. 1 or 2 should be the limit.
Yeah.
Maybe 3, because one of them is Yeah. The Rolling Stones. Okay.
Yeah, right.
But that's about it. Okay, so you started doing the local gig thing. By the time that you were graduating high school, what was your plan? Were you a serious kid?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my plan was actually, my brother was still in Hollywood. And my plan was to go down there and be a brother band, but then he came back up here and that thing dissolved. And I took a job at the mill, which was the thing to do after high school. Yeah. So I was working at Crown Zellerback and then a friend of mine, about 2 months into it, a friend of mine who was a year ahead of me in school had moved to Seattle and was in a band. And they had lost their guitar player. And he came down and caught me on my way to work and told me, quit your job, come to Seattle. And I quit my job that night. I left and told the foreman, I said, I'm done. Which I was. I mean, I was never going to do that forever, but.
Right.
And so next day we got in his van and that was it. Moved to Seattle and.
Okay. First of all, for somebody who's pretty practical, this idea sounds insane. Quit your job with what money? How much? You didn't have a lot of money. You're in somebody's van. You're thinking you're going to stay. What and where and how is this going to work?
I didn't care. I wanted to do it so bad. I slept under a staircase for a month. We went to this place Larry was staying. He had his own bedroom, and we stayed with this guy that was a professor at the University of Washington, but, he was more of a pothead. And, we just kept whittling away at it and nobody killed us. And eventually we grew into a working band. We got gigs around town and places that are gone now. But
what are your fondest memories of those times?
Oh, God.
Like, what's something that really sticks out? Something that went terribly wrong or something that went terribly right?
Oh, I think when I told the guys that I came up to be in their band to stuff it, and I was done because they were a bunch of squareheads. They were a bunch of East Ender yuppie guys, and I just wasn't going for it. I would have done better to stick with them. They were more popular, but I think
explain to the listeners who may not be as familiar with a squarehead or a yuppie what you mean by that. They were rigid.
Rigid shirt and tie, slacks, real clean.
They had rules. They didn't want you doing drugs.
All the right songs, all the right. Yeah. But one of my fondest memories is when we started the new band and we were rehearsing in the basement of this guy's house in the Fremont district. And we called it, everybody was there. It was just a flop house. And the guy that owned it was named Leonard. And we called this place Leonard's Toke House.
Nice.
God only knows why.
Yeah.
But, I was never a pothead, especially back then. Okay. And, but everybody else seemed to be. And we rehearsed there and we
What year was this around?
72, 71, probably late 71.
Everybody was smoking pot.
The very beginning. Yeah. Something like that. And that was, that was the first band. I mean, our B3 player, our keyboard player had a brand new B3. Well, it wasn't brand new, but it was a nice new B3. And I'm a B3 fanatic.
Okay. What's a B3?
A Hammond B3 keyboard.
Oh, okay.
Big wood box things with the Leslie speaker.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, can't beat them. They're hell to move, but it's well worth it. I was always the guy that would move them because I would. But we just cultivated this band in the Fremont district of Seattle and started getting more.
What was this band called?
Oh God, I have a picture of it actually. I think it was called J.C. Kinsey.
J.C. Kinsey.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one more syllable than you can tolerate, but J.C. Kinsey. I think that's what it was.
Okay. How did we choose this name?
Pardon me?
How did we choose this name?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I think the other guys were smoking pot and came up with it and thought it was funny or something.
Right.
I thought it was ridiculous, but we started getting jobs as that band, promo pictures and, stuff, and people started talking about it. And so that's what we became.
Oh, so then we can't argue then.
No.
Okay. What was your personality like in the band? Were you the organized one? Were you the one that was going to, fight about a lyric? Were you going to be the one to say, no, it needs a lick here or there, or take that away? Or what was your role?
I was I became the leader figure. I would call out the tunes. We were, our keyboard player he was pretty type A, but I was more type A, and he didn't like me very well. But we're still friends to this day.
Together very well. They have a hard time working together.
Yeah, but I still talk to him to this day. Matter of fact,
work it out. I mean, somebody has to,
40 years ago, so yeah. I was pretty much driving the boat on that thing until we started getting people in the band that had, more dominant personalities. And I usually just stood out of the way and let whatever happened so the band could survive and, be the best it could be and play the best songs we could. And we did pretty well until I got, romanced away from that band by one of the top two bands in Seattle. So at the time.
And how did they woo you?
Dave, you want to join the band? I said, yeah.
You were not. That's it. That's all it took. It was like, you guys are a better band. Bye, guys.
That's where I was. That was my goal.
Right.
My goal was to climb the
Don't shame
ladder
you
and
for it.
get in and I was more, I gravitated more towards black R&B bands.
Okay.
So I was like the only white guy in a 10-piece black band.
Love.
Or the only 2 white guys in a 10-piece black band. The band that took me out of that thing I was in was called Black and White Affair. And them and a couple other bands in the area were about the only ones that did that sort of thing. Fortunately, the band Black and White Affair, the leader, Manuel Stanton, whew, I want to talk about a type A. He was smart enough to hire enough white people in the band that we would get gigs at white venues, which back then was
It's hard to
unique.
do.
So, but then we started doing really well. We got gigs up in Vancouver, BC. We were playing the top clubs up in Vancouver, BC. Oil Can Harry's, the places that Hart started. You know, Hart used to come listen to us after their gigs in Vancouver, BC. And then it just one thing led to another. And another band pursued me after that called Onyx, which was even a step above Black and White Affair. And that was a much better band, better players. But that pretty much did it. You know, after that, I got tired of being broke. I got tired of hassling for money. And I started playing in these little lounge lizard bands, making 3-4 times a week what I was in the others. Mostly because just the sheer numbers took the money away. But that whole big band traveling on the road thing, that got beat out of me really quick.
It's hard.
Yeah, it was tough. It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's primarily what I hear when we talk about having no money, touring, you know, the crazy shit that you eat, the crazy places that you sleep, and that there is a lot of fun to it. But then, yeah, it's a tough way to live. I can't imagine that, you know, I mean, I must be a princess that I just can't imagine never being in my bed for, you know, 3 months at a time or 6 months or however long and just not being comfortable. I don't know. Men don't care if you're comfortable.
Well,
when you're young.
Yeah, they do. But those weren't the people I hung out with. You know, I hung out with people who prioritized playing music in front of people, trying to be as good at it as possible. That was the priority. Where I slept, I mean, I'm guessing now that I think about it, there was a good 6-month period where I didn't have a place to stay in Seattle. I was on the road. That's where I lived. You know, if I stayed in town, I would sleep with friends or something, and so I didn't have to commit to a lease or
right.
Full well knowing I'd be out in another month.
Right.
But, you know, I did that till 78, 79. And that was it. That was about the end of my patience doing that. And I got offered a recording engineering position at a studio up in Seattle, one of the only 24-track studios in Seattle at the time. And I remember I was playing in Sun Valley, Idaho. How can you hate playing in Sun Valley, Idaho? But this guy called me, this owner of the studio who I had, you know, had a bit of a relationship built with already. And he offered me the job and I took it.
Did you know what you were doing?
No.
Okay, great.
Well, I did, sort of. I had been a guitar player on a couple of albums for hire. And I'd spent time in that studio and a couple of others. So I knew the environment. I just didn't know the particulars.
Okay, this blows my mind. I had one other person that I've interviewed that she got offered, like, she had to pay to be there to like take care of the studio and like run it. And she had no idea what she was doing. And I'm like, what do you mean you said yes? What do you just go in there and you're just
I
like,
don't think we knew what we were getting into, right?
You know?
Because that was exactly what happened to me, that very scenario. The guy that owned the studio, I still talk to him today. We still, you know, he's done quite well, but he's definitely a hippie. You know, the guy is a true hippie, a wealthy hippie, but what he really wanted was somebody to open the doors, do the finances, run the studio while he ran off to Hawaii and played.
Right.
But I learned a lot. I learned a lot.
So
really
you get
quick.
in there. Obviously, you have the audacity. I mean, what a shocker! A white man with audacity who goes in there and goes, "I can do it."
Yeah, they did exist. Yeah.
So you go in there, and what was your biggest challenge, and how did you overcome that, or did you just it was easy? Did you find it easy?
No. My biggest challenge was just learning how to be smooth and cool around all that technology, around the chords and the people and the neurosis and the craziness and the 4 a.m. sessions with people throwing shit at the wall because they couldn't get their vocal right, or it was all of that was just, but I knew that it was taking me somewhere that I wanted to go. And ironically, this album behind me happened because of that.
Okay.
I did that album in that studio that I was learning to work in on an offer. The guy that owned the recordings, the guy that owned the record company, offered all of us working in these studios that had aspirations of doing an album. He said, he goes, I need to fund some albums. I won't get into that. And so that's what became Raynor Shine, that is now having an incredible rebirth. It's incredible what's happening.
Got a Yacht Rock.
That's
what I'm reading. It's like
that's exactly it.
I've heard the term. I heard the term actually a couple of years ago. I'd never heard of it before. About 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm an Uber driver, and this guy was like, "Oh yeah, they were at Lakewood, which I don't know what they call it now, but it's Lakewood in Atlanta, and will forever be Lakewood. I don't care how many cell phones.
Yeah, however many times they
anyway." And so they're leaving, and I said, "Well, who were you seeing?" And they were like, "Oh, it was just some Yacht Rock," and I was like, "It was what?" He was like, Yacht Rock? And I was like, I don't know what that is. And so, I pull it up on my phone and I was like, this is what we used to call easy listening. This is everything.
I don't know what defines Yacht Rock, really. It seems to be more of a timely thing.
Yeah.
But also a style. It's a time and a style.
And a feeling, I think.
Yeah. Well, I guess, because that's, I was sitting on the couch maybe a year ago. I'd say a little over a year ago. I was sitting on the couch watching HBO. We've got HBO or Max. We've got Max. And I'm watching this show, this Yacht Rock show, documentary.
Yeah.
By a guy named Garrett Price, directed and produced it. And there I was, halfway through the thing. There's my album, and they're playing my song, and I'm sitting on the couch. I'm just, I had to rewind it and play it back.
That's sure I was insane.
Yeah, it was. But I get a lot of miles out of that. People requested me to, but when that happened, I only had one album left. That was it. There were no more albums. I mean, my last album sold on Discogs for $150. And I've seen it for $1,500. But because of that show, I had people yelling at me to repress it, to do a final repress. So I did.
Good on you.
Well, I came out of pocket with money I didn't have, and I just figured it's now or never. There's not much time left, really, and so, and it's been, I mean, half of them have wound up in Japan.
That's amazing.
I have a distributor down in Burlingame, California, which is San Francisco, and she's a Japanese distributor, and they took half my stock and sent it to 10 or 15 outlets in Japan, in Tokyo.
Love.
I'd probably do better over there.
You should move.
They'd sure see me coming.
They'd love you. They'd take pictures of you left and right. Look at this.
I hope so.
Man.
Either that or throw shit at me.
The white hair. No, they wouldn't. Okay, so I feel like we've skipped a couple parts. So let's go back. You quit touring.
Yeah.
You're working
at that level.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not sleeping under staircases anymore. Thank you. What did you eat on the road when you were really when you had nothing? What was I like to know this, and I don't know why, because I'm a foodie, I guess.
God,
but what were the cheap things that you would survive on? I'm really impressing your memory today.
I never thought about food. I just ate when I think the most of what I ate was in the clubs that we played at, so
whatever they had.
Yeah, whatever they had, we would play a club up in State Line, Idaho called the El Patio. That was a big deal club. I mean, everybody played there. The Sons of Champlin, Cold Blood, the whole list goes on. And they would have a kitchen, and they would have, sometimes they'd let the members of the band just go in the kitchen and do their own thing. But, it was pretty much that. I mean, and every fast food restaurant from here to Timbuktu and back, I can't remember ever eating well.
Right.
Whatever you'd call that. I don't,
one of the guys was like, oh yeah, I used to get, a bag of corn tortillas and an avocado, and that could last me a couple of meals. And it was like, dude.
I remember the best meal I ever had on the road like that was I was in this band Black and White Affair, and there were 3 guys in Seattle called the Hill Brothers. And one was a drummer, the other one was a percussionist. Anyway, Robbie Hill had joined this band I was in, Black and White Affair, and we showed up at this gig at a place called Oil Can Harry's a day early, so we needed a place to stay. And Robbie Hill said, "My aunt lives across the river. Let's go over there and see if she'll." So we so we went over to the Hill Brothers are black, the black guys, and they were, this was the band. I was one of 2 white guys in it. And so we went over to his aunt's house, and she was one of those who welcomes everybody in. You got to come in. Cooked for us, had food all over the place. And she actually put us up for the night, and I got to sleep in one of the rooms. She had a 3-story home. And the room that she put me in was Jimi Hendrix's room that he slept in when he was there. It was his aunt. So I'm in this room with pictures of Jimi Hendrix in an army uniform.
Wow.
And in the closet is his uniform.
Wow.
And
okay, what did you eat? You were going to tell me.
Oh, God. Every soul food thing you could ever think of. Ribs, black-eyed peas. I think she might have even fixed chitlins. I did chitlins once. That was it. Not a chitlins guy. But everything else, you
ate well.
Yeah. That was probably the best meal I ever remember I ever had on the road.
Well, thanks, Auntie.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Always.
She's dead and gone now, that's for sure.
Bless.
Most of most of the guys I played with are dropping like flies. So, to have anybody left is a luxury.
Times change things for sure. I certainly have been to more funerals in recent years than I've ever been to. It's like, you go through a series of weddings, and then you do the baby showers, and then you do some funerals, and then weddings again.
Right.
Baby showers again, Yeah. Everything is kind of cyclical.
Well, you should do like I do. I just tell them I have mobility problems and I can't show.
Well, I guess I could. But
not driving Uber.
Yeah, well, the Uber driving is fun. I like that. And I like to drive. So good. I can't get away with not saying I can't be somewhere, or it's too far. Yeah, I don't do real good with that.
I like that open road driving. That's why I did well. I was always a driver on the road.
Yeah.
I always drove the truck.
I like to drive. I think that I was talking about that with somebody last night. I said, there's some people that don't. My roommate is a passenger princess. That girl she's never going to offer to drive. I'm always driving, which is fine because I don't want her to drive.
Right.
And it's the case with most of my friends. I was like, no, I'll drive. And they're like, no, I could. I was like, it's okay. I don't feel like it's uneven. You're just a terrible driver and I'm not going to let you. But I like to drive,
Yeah, I do too. I
like how I drive, and I like to drive. So yeah, it doesn't bother me. Now I did do like a 10-hour drive to Little Rock, Arkansas. And
wow,
the person I was with didn't want to drive. And I was like,
from Atlanta?
Yes.
Yes.
And I was like, I would have appreciated it like 2 hours of her driving so I could sleep, because it was pretty exhausting. But whatever, if you do what you got to do.
Yeah, I drove from Seattle to Branson, Missouri. And that was one of the funnest times I ever had in my life. All by myself.
By yourself?
By myself. Car full of gear.
Wow.
I was out there. I was on my way to play guitar for Bill Medley of the Righteous Brothers.
Wow.
And had my car full of shit up to the roof. And I had the best time of my life.
What do you like about being alone and traveling like that?
Not having to talk to anybody. I think that's one thing. I like the solitude,
I'm sorry. That's awesome. Okay.
I guess, I just
control over the radio.
Yeah. That's not a big deal to me.
I mean, do you drive in silence sometimes?
Never.
Okay, thank you.
I'm always listening to
psychopaths, people that do that.
Yeah.
Silence? What is that?
Oh, I have. I think that trip to Branson, I had moments where it was so beautiful that I just had to shut everything down.
Wow.
And just let it, let the scenery come in.
Next to music, is nature a close second for you?
I'd say that again.
I said, if music is number one, is nature a close second?
Oh, yeah, I would say so. I would say, we're not that far from the beach here. We're about an hour and a half away from the Pacific Ocean. And some of the best times of my life have been just being there, looking out at it. I would say having a beer, but I quit drinking. So,
okay, well, having a bevy that's not a bevy. Yeah. A cold,
quit or die, man.
Coca-Cola.
Quit or die.
I mean, I feel that. Okay, so let's get to why am I having a brain aneurysm? Not an aneurysm. You worked with Deniece Williams.
Yes.
You were in her band. You were her music director.
Yes.
Okay, explain to me what a music director's job is.
Well, in that particular case, I felt more like it was just being a liaison, calling people to the stage, making sure, charts were distributed properly, making sure that, just a chaperone in a sense. But I was also in charge of organizing rehearsals.
Who came up with the set list? Is that between the music?
Well, it was Deniece. It was all Deniece Williams music. So the set list just devised itself. She would. I mean, she would decide, but there was only, I mean, you could probably get 2 concerts out of everything that is easy playable on stage. The stuff with Johnny Mathis, that's a little hard to do. Although I did a couple of duets with her on those, but she would come up with the set list. Once we got the set list down, that was pretty much it for the whole years that I was with her.
Okay, so you're running rehearsals and making sure. I mean, you're saying to Joe, you're messing up every time we get to the bridge of such and such, or?
Well, I would have said that if that were the case, but everybody in that band were far better players than me, so it was best I kept my mouth shut.
Do you like being in that scenario where everybody's?
Yeah.
Where you think?
Yeah, it takes way less energy. Let them play, man. Just find good players and let them play. Pretty much at that point, all you have to do is say, okay, rehearsal's over. Okay, let's go eat. Or let's work on this tune, or Deniece wants to do this, or, it seems that in those situations with people who are tenured stars, I would call them, that they don't like barking out orders on stage. They want that done for them. Not necessarily orders, but
I would. I want the smooth. I want the I want the easy. I want to have a relationship with my band that feels a little cozier and not so much be like, hey, you need to blah blah. I wouldn't want to.
Well, I'm sure that exists, but I never. I mean, I wasn't one of those who played with 50 artists. So all I really knew was what Deniece did. And I got used to that. I mean, I did it for 10 years.
Did you like that part of your life?
Oh, I loved it.
What was better than what was before?
You mean
a really generic question.
You mean the 10, 15 piece black band thing?
Yeah. What are the pros and cons between those two environments? I mean, surely they have things where, you've got this big band and you guys are, you're part of a process, and then you have a star, who comes in.
Well, the pay grade goes up enormously. I would much rather play the Kennedy Center than Oil Canaries. All of a sudden I'm playing the Atlanta Civic Center. I'm playing the Conservatory of Music in Philadelphia.
Is it because you're playing to so many people that it feels so magnificent, or is it because it's a status thing, or does it feel different when the audience is participating? What do you like about it more? Because some people like the smaller things. I mean, they want to make money, but they also like, the intimacy of the smaller gigs.
Well, I'd had enough of that.
You're like, I've had enough intimacy.
I'd had enough of that. I love the big halls.
Okay.
It just, I felt like I belonged there. It just was, I'll never forget, and you don't realize when you're up there doing that sort of a thing in a really great band with the best players you can have, with an artist that is, so sings so well as Deniece, who's listening. I remember in Philadelphia, after we were done with the show, I think I was about 30 something at the time. And backstage, these 2 kids came, and one of them was in a black sombrero with the little bell tassels, the little ball tassels on it. And he was a Prince wannabe. He was dressed like Prince. And he had some other guy with him, and they were sort of their own entourage.
Okay.
And And he walked up to me and called me sir. You know, I mean, he wanted to talk to me. I could see it, you know, because I had a couple of guitar solos on that show that night, and I think I did quite well on one of them, and it was right up his alley, you know, and it's things like that I'll never forget, you know, that really made all that worth it.
All the work, all the sweat and the tears, sleeping in your stairwells.
Yeah. But you get there with having such great players that they just lift you. They lift you. I never really had to. I never had to. What would you call it? Flex my muscles as a music director. Quite the contrary. I was the one that was humbled. Wow. So I just kept my mouth shut.
Why did you get the title?
I think it was just a tenure thing. You know, she started using me. I got hired to do a gig in England with her, this huge venue. Oh, there were 50,000 people in the audience.
What does that feel like?
Yeah, it was amazing. Mm. But she asked me to do it in, I think it was 86 was the first one, or 87. Then she asked me to do the next year. And by the next year, she started giving me more responsibility. You know, the first year, they were all players from LA. We had like James Jamerson Jr. on bass and Raymond Pounds on drums, who was, you know, played on Stevie Wonder albums. And these were all Deniece's cronies. And now the second year, they were all English players. So it was quite a bit different thing. And, but she still introduced me as the music director. And then after that, we were asked to do this thing called, it was a Kentucky Fried Chicken tour. Okay. I guess they were the sponsors. We ate well on that one.
Oh, I bet you did.
No.
Who doesn't like KFC though? Really? I mean, if you're going to have, you know, chicken, I don't know.
Well,
it's pretty good now. Whatever.
Depends on how hungry you are.
Yeah, it does.
I was never particular. I think the most fun thing I ever ate, and I kept going back for it in every city I went to, was blackened catfish. I had blackened catfish about a block and a half away from the venue we played where I met that kid with the hat in Philadelphia, and I had blackened catfish, and it was this really nice kind of New York wood restaurant. And the people there knew who I was. They knew I was playing with Deniece. So they'd give me my own table, and, you know, I felt like Guido Sarducci.
Yeah. Come here this way, Mr. Soprano.
Blackened catfish. Yeah, Mr. No, tenor only. But, you know, that whole sequence of events in England is what led to her doing that song of mine that won a Grammy for her.
Okay. Are we at the point where we're going to talk about the Grammy? Because
no, not if you don't want to.
No, I do. Okay.
It was all happenstance. You know, I find that there's no plan in this stuff. Some people want to lead you to believe there is, but there isn't. It's all luck of the draw. You know, it's just luck of the draw. Matter of fact, that tune was probably more likely to not have been recorded. I had that tune in my back pocket, and I played it for her when we were in England. And her husband was a good friend of mine, which was a lot of why all this was happening. Brad Westering, he married Deniece, and that, you know, it just kept going and going from there. But I had this tune, and it was a gospel tune, and I had no plans for it, but I played it for her. We were on a bus. We were coming back from Northampton back into London, and that's about an hour drive. And, you know, this was back in the day when you carried a little cassette player with you.
Right.
You know, no iPods, none of that
stuff.
Right. So I played it for her on the bus, and she said, "Give me that tape." So I gave it to her, and the next thing I knew, she was staying on in England to have her next album produced by a guy named Steve Levine. Do you know who Steve Levine? Steve Levine produced Culture Club.
Oh, wow.
Come, you know? Yeah. That's Steve Levine. Yeah. Well, Deniece wanted that tune done. He was scheduled to produce her next album. So they were going to stay on in London and have this next album produced for them. And he didn't want to do the tune because it was gospel. He wanted nothing to do with it. Well, you know, I get it. I mean, some people just don't. And that's okay.
Yeah. But we're all entitled to our preferences and opinions.
Yeah. But Brad and Deniece said, okay, well, we'll just go back to LA and we'll find somebody who will. He said, oh, no. Why I changed my mind. And that's how it happened. And we all got a Grammy for it.
Okay. So
matter of fact, I talked to him about it.
Yeah, I bet you did. When that happens, do you know before the Grammys? I mean, I guess it depends on the category, but do you know before that you've won?
Well, no. Ironically, I was on my way down to Los Angeles to a job interview to engineer at a studio that I had taken the place of the owner of that studio at the studio up in Seattle, that I worked for the guy that liked to go to Hawaii. So I'm on this airplane. It's 1987.
Yes.
And on the way back from that job interview was the presentation that the Grammy had won. So my wife at the time and my two boys that were 7 and 9 met me at the gate with champagne and a little cake that we had won the award. So we, you know, the award was presented and won while I was in the air coming back from a job interview. And I took the job. So we moved to LA in 87 to work at this recording studio called LA Studios, where I worked with people like Jimmy Stewart and Jonathan Winters and on, you know, Bruce Willis, Demi Moore. I could go on. And I did that for about 4 or 5 years, and that was all I could take of LA. I thought I could take more, but.
What was your biggest takeaway from LA and working with that?
Well, it put out that fire of wanting to live there. You know, I no longer had that chewing at me. I loved it. I think if I'd been single, I would have stayed. But looking at it now in retrospect, I'm glad I left, and I'm glad all the things that happened to me that if I hadn't have left wouldn't have happened.
Okay, that's a lot of little doors that you just like half opened. Give me an example. You know, this thing that I would tell you if it was a thing that I could tell you, but it's this thing that I'm not going to say, so we're just going to tell you something else. Tell me an experience that you had that was like, this isn't a place for me. This isn't a place for me and my family, or this isn't the long-term goal while you were in LA.
The fact that we stopped going to places that were what you dream about doing, being there, because it was just too congested. You know, we no longer went to the beach. We didn't go down to Malibu. We didn't go down to Zuma anymore. You know, there's too much tar on the sand. There's too many people. The cars are, you know, the congestion was just overwhelming. And we lived out in Thousand Oaks, which was about a 33-mile commute each way from where I was working. which is not uncommon, but
right. Especially for big cities.
Yeah, but you get on the 101 and somebody gets in a wreck. You get a couple of 18-wheel semis blocking. I think the 101 is probably, I think it's 6 or 8 lanes per direction down there in places like around Westlake. I think it's 6 lanes. That's 12 lanes of traffic.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere you can go. I used to get off and go down Las Virgenes to the PCH freeway, the highway, the one that goes right through Malibu.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it was tolerable. And then what you would do is go up over Pacific Palisades and take Mulholland Drive. And Mulholland Drive would spit me right down about 10 blocks from where I worked. So I had all these secret ways I would go. And there were times when I was in the middle of driving them. I remember being up in the hills of Mulholland Drive going, what am I doing? I ran out of steam. And I was diplomatic about it. I went home one night and I said, all right, everybody gather around. And I said, I'm going to give you 2 choices and you're going to make the decision. We either stay in LA and tough it out, or we move back to Seattle. And they didn't even think twice. They just moved back to Seattle, Dad. So we did. And, everything that happened to me, all that Bill Medley and Andy Williams and even the continuing on of Deniece Williams. And I couldn't have continued on with that Deniece Williams gig if I'd kept that LA Studios gig. That was full-time. It was one of the only full-time jobs I'd ever had in my life.
That's so wild.
Yeah,
the life of a musician.
I'm not a musician. I'm a recording engineer.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know what I am is what I'm saying.
You're multifaceted, multi-talented.
I had to
award-winning Dave Raynor.
To survive like you.
So we're all hustling. Everybody's hustling something. Okay. When your time with Deniece was coming to an end, what ended it and what were your thoughts about what was coming next?
Well, what ended it was her and her husband fell apart. That was my glue. My friend Brad was my connection into. But by that time, Deniece and I had developed our own relationship. But she basically just stopped performing in public with a band for hire. She would use bands, house bands, or pit bands or things like that. And so, to survive, well, that's a multi thing of timbral. In order to survive in Seattle, I took a job at the studio, but I knew it was only an excuse to get references to get an apartment to survive. To get what I did was started my own studio. So I opened my own studio down by the Mariners ballpark in Seattle, up above in this loft studio, which eventually turned into the Pyramid Ale House. And that was quite a ride. I was there for almost 9 years, 8 or 9 years.
I'd love to have my own studio.
Yeah, it was just this funky, big, huge ceiling loft, New York-y studio thing. Funky, But I did that. And it went quite well. That whole studio thing, independent studio, boutique, voiceover. See, that's what I'd learned in LA, was that whole voiceover TV, radio, promo thing. And it's not very hard, but it is if you don't know it. Kind of like me in Riverside.
Bless. We had a second. I was like, oh, he's so frustrated and I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's just me. That's just me. Anyway, yeah. So, but you know, that whole thing, that whole thing led into another writing opportunity. A friend of mine from Seattle approached me to start writing instrumental music for Muzak. And I took him up on it. And at first it was pretty much my investment. But Muzak started taking enough of my tunes that I started actually making a living out of it without doing anything more.
Wow.
Which is a terrible, terrible thing because you get extremely lazy.
Oh.
I was making, at the time, I was probably making $70,000 a year doing nothing. You know, having songs being played on Muzak. And I got into some really bad habits. And
is this when the drinking became an issue?
I got lazy and I got a lot of things. And I don't know whether you consider it some other power or something, but something took it right out away from me. It just, the whole thing stopped. You know, Muzak got bought out by another foreground music company. They cut off the royalties. And I wasn't the only one. You know, I knew guys that were making $200,000-$300,000 a year. One of them lived in Hawaii. Another one lived down in Austin, Texas. And all of a sudden, it just, within 6 months to a year, it was gone. Nothing. And everybody didn't know what they were doing. I wound up having to move out of my house. I was living in a friend of mine's basement. And it was at that time that I got the job with Bill Medley in Branson. When I loaded my car up and took off. So that's, you know, it's I survived that, but at the time it didn't feel like I was I thought I was done. You know?
I had a conversation the other day with somebody about suffering. And she was saying, you know, I know that God doesn't give us more than we can withstand. And I was like, I don't know if that's true or not. What I will say is that life has suffering. And sometimes the suffering is immense. But there are also, hopefully, times in our lives where the joy is immense. And the only reason that we can recognize the joy is because of the suffering.
Yeah.
You know,
well said. Very
you can't
true.
see the good if you've never experienced the bad. You know, our lives are not meant to be, you know, mountaintop to mountaintop. That's just not the way it's supposed to go because you don't appreciate it otherwise. And we have things to learn while we are here.
I'd say that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah. I mean, at the time, you don't know. At the time,
and you feel like it's unfair, and why me, and how am I ever going to come back from this? And surely it's all over. So, what's the difference between a mix engineer and a recording engineer? Recording is, I mean, it may sound. I mean, it may be.
Well, you know, a recording engineer can be a mix engineer, and vice versa. But usually, a recording engineer will set up the microphones on the drums and the guitar amps and the piano and he'll get levels and he'll say, okay, roll, we're rolling. And he'll capture all the music on tape or Pro Tools or whatever.
Right.
See, I'm old school. It used to be on tape.
Right.
But, and then after all the tracks
have been
recorded, then in comes the mix engineer. Okay. And that would be somebody like Mick Gazowski, Chris Lord-Alge, people like that, you know, people who are mixing is a very particular skill. It's hard to say what. That's why I say there's no school for it. It's hard to just something you can't teach. You got to do. And
I need to get the job at the recording studio.
Well, that's it.
That's it. That's all I need. Just go in and find
and you do whatever it takes to get that job.
Right.
If it's the trash taker outer, fine.
Right.
And you show your interest once you get inside. You stick around, and unless they throw you out.
Right. But I'm so cheerful.
Which are they? Yeah, right. I love you so much.
Out.
Thank you for having me.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I retired from all that willingly. I might do it again, but it would have to be under circumstances that nobody's ever going to ask me for, which is fine. No problem in that. But it's just so hard. It's such hard work emotionally to be responsible for all that stuff and try to make it sound right for you and right for them and right for everybody. And
we talk about that a lot. Me and everybody talk a lot about when we hear good production and how it's not something that we ever thought about before. But now that I listen to a lot of really tiny little baby artists, brand new, just starting out, just other people, and you can tell who's had somebody that's worked with them that knew what they were doing or had a little more time or had a little more equipment or, whatever. The production is different. And you go, wow, that's a huge difference. And I know that this person has this many listeners or this is their audience, right? And then the difference of what is backing them.
Right.
Huge difference in how it sounds and how you take it in and how you're experiencing it. And it's like, oh my God, I'm just dying to know what is really involved in all of it. And I've got to find a way. I'll take the trash out. I'm not beneath that. I'm really good at
Atlanta is one of the prime areas for that process for high-end recording. I know that Babyface, Kenny Evans, Kenny something. He lives down there. I don't think he does that stuff much anymore. But when he did,
studios here. I just want to what if I just decided to go be like, hey, can I come and check out the studio? I would like to record and be like, hey, this is really cool. And then kind of get to know the people. I've got to get out. But
yeah. And most studios would be glad to take you on a tour, and you'd be surprised. You'd show the right interest, and you'd be surprised what doors will. You just never know. That's the whole thing.
That's the recurring theme. You just never know. You never know what's coming. You don't know a Grammy is coming for you until it's knocking at your door. You don't know when it's coming. You don't know that you're going to end up being a recording engineer because you didn't even know what you were doing. You just went. You said yes. Yes, I'll do it. Better band. Yes, I'm in. Another better band. Yes, I'm in. I love it.
I always feel bad when younger artists, younger things ask me, how do you do that? How did it happen? And I said, if I tell them the truth, they'll think I'm a smart ass, but I just say, I don't know. It just happened.
Also you have to have some willingness to say yes.
Well, you pursue.
You didn't just go, oh yeah, I'll be in a band and I'm happy to be in a band. No, another better door came knocking and you're like, bye guys. This is the way I'm headed. You had to be ballsy enough, to say.
I always had a 3 to 5 year plan.
Okay, so then that's really the truth. You were looking ahead. No, you couldn't predict everything that was going to happen in the future. You can't know all things, but you got to have some kind of plan, some kind of direction on where you want to go. And if it's not aligning with the group that you're in right now, or the people aren't taking it as seriously as you are, I'm in the wrong band. Until you found yourself in a place where, oh, okay, you may be more serious than I am, or you may be more talented than I am. Oh, now I'm in the right room. I'm in the wrong room if I'm the most talented person in the room.
Well put.
That's right?
True.
To me, that's what
true.
I'm getting from you. You're like, I'm in the wrong room.
Yeah.
I want to be better.
You'll burn out so fast.
Right. I'm dragging people along with you. So put yourself as somebody else that I interviewed, Avery Friedman, said that. She says, I found myself in a room with people who are so much better than I am that I don't even know why they're there with me. But I'm just so glad here they are willing to be a part of this project that I'm doing. And I'm like, well, you're in the right room if people who are better than you are willing to be a part of what you're doing.
Yeah. I think that's just a part of being humble, whether it's, healthily humble or neurotically humble or whatnot. But I think a lot of artists don't see that their involvement, the people around them are as thrilled to be there with them as they are in reverse.
Right.
Anyway,
one of the compliments that I gave, I saw this, her name is Maddie Diaz, and she's a beautiful indie folk singer, acoustic guitar, and her voice is just haunting. It's so beautiful. It sounds like she's putting forth no effort, but it is so powerful. Anyway, and she played in Harry Styles' band in his last tour for a handful of shows. And the compliment that I gave her when I saw her for a solo show, I said, you look like you were having as much fun as we wanted you to be having with him. Like, you looked like you were having the time of your life. And what more would we want for you as Harry Styles fans, for you to be like, do you get it? Is it amazing? Really? And you're having the best. And she's like, yes, it's so great. See me. And she was like, and she like got a little well of a tear in her eye. Like, yes, it was amazing. Yes, she has a whole plan for her whole career, and that's not probably the full plan, but what a beautiful little detour that she got to do. And we got to see her experience something that we thought, yeah, if we were you, we'd be squealing, we'd be dying. And she was having the time of her life. So
other things come out of that too.
Yeah, surely.
Somebody sees you and wants you to be a part of something.
The little baby folks that maybe have not got the recognition that they deserve yet. Right. And as a huge fan of Harry Styles, we follow all of them. We're like, oh, this is who you want us to love. Okay, we're in.
Yeah,
going to their shows.
Yeah,
we do it.
It's just I've always found it a process of pursuit.
Yeah,
you pursue everything, and as long as it doesn't hurt you or feel evil or whatever, you keep going. I was sort of assessing all the things that have led up to this whole Yacht Rock thing.
Yeah.
And I thought, geez, I should be dead. I should have died long ago with the stuff I've thrown myself at, some good, some bad.
And yet here you are.
Here I am. And this Yacht Rock thing is, I keep thinking, well, that's about all that's going to happen. And then something happens, something else, something comes out of nowhere. And, right now I'm enjoying just a massive airplay on this thing, these different Piers Hawkins, the Mix Cloud, Jeff Jeff Whitlock. Now he's over your way. Well, he's up in Memphis. Memphis isn't that far.
Oh, no, it's not
from you.
Yeah. We have connections in Nashville.
Right.
So yeah, I need to go and see if I can do some in-persons in Nashville. I've talked to a couple people that live there.
You ought to try to get some kind of a thing at the Bluebird, some kind of performance thing, or they're still doing it.
Yeah. Not the last time, but one of the last times I was in Nashville, we went to see if they were playing anything while we were there, and they didn't. They had a private event going on. But I would love to do that. All right, let's skip on to, I've got some seven rapid fire questions that are not rapid.
Okay.
But they're fire.
Okay.
And there's 7 of them. And they're my getting to know you 7. I should call them something else entirely, but I just say this every single time. I don't know how many times I'll say it, but I wrote it down and that's just the way that it ended. Okay. Number 1, tell me what would be your ideal vacation. And this could be where you go or what you do or both.
It's a cross between skiing at Whistler or spending a month at the beach down in Cannon Beach.
Nice.
Oregon.
Okay, those are two opposites. What two things do they have in common? Would the people be the same?
The beauty of it. Just the sheer beauty of it.
Nature, back to the nature. Okay, number 2, favorite concert you've ever attended and somebody that you'd like to see live.
Favorite concert?
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a tough one. I got 3 right at the top of my head, but
you can give me all 3.
I'm going to say the first one was the Sons of Champlin.
Okay.
Portland State University, 1970. I was so floored that they had to ask me to leave. We all sat on the floor in this big arena situation, and I was so stunned that everybody had left and I was still on the floor by myself.
I have that experience. My gosh, for those of you that are listening, if you've never had the experience of being so stunned after a concert, an event, a spiritual experience of music, that you forget that you're supposed to move and go home.
Yeah.
You need to
or even where you are.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. Who would you like to see? Are you interested in seeing anybody? Or who did you miss seeing?
You mean who would I like to see that I haven't seen?
Yes, ideally.
Pat Metheny.
That's
period. Yeah, I would love to see that.
Overrated and underrated holiday.
Personal?
Yeah, what do you think is an overrated holiday?
Hawaii. I think Hawaii is overrated.
Okay.
My wife would disagree, but maybe that's just my frustration that I haven't been or probably never going to go, but I would be just as happy again at Cannon Beach.
Okay.
Anyway, Hawaii. What was the other one?
Underrated.
Whistler. Whistler. I mean, it just seems to be like a party prize or a party favor when it's, you go up to the top of Whistler and make a run down from the very top, and I defy you, it won't change your life.
Wow. That's quite the claim. Okay. I like that. A weird food combo that only you enjoy.
Hummus, baba ganoush, and a falafel sandwich.
Okay. What is in baba ganoush?
Baba ganoush is eggplant.
Oh, okay.
Is roasted eggplant mooshed up into a paste.
Okay.
With garlic and lemon, and it is to die for.
Okay, that sounds really good, actually.
It is.
Okay.
Go to a very good, make sure your first time, if you do, go to a very, very good Middle Eastern restaurant.
Okay.
Have it with pita bread. Well, they'll serve it with pita bread.
Okay. That sounds really good.
But you can put it on a fender and it's still good.
Well, I don't have a fender.
A lot of people don't agree with me on that.
What is the kindest thing anyone has ever said or done for you?
Oh, God. My friend and real estate broker in Seattle letting me stay in his 4th bedroom in his basement when I was coming apart. That was the kindest thing anybody's ever done for me or will. He knows it.
It's a lot to be said for a good friend in time of need.
Boy, I tell you. He's one of 2.
I love it. You have to have them. And you don't even know what you're going to have to call on them for. But man.
Hopefully nothing ever again, because I certainly couldn't offer him any kind of payback for what he did, but
he was happy to be that for you.
Yeah, I know he was.
Yeah.
We talked about that the other day.
Oh, I love it. Pivotal times in our lives where you go, man, you just stood in the rain with me.
Yeah.
What is this? A complete topic changer. Personality pet peeve. What gives you the absolute ick? You wish that people would never say it, do it, be it.
Say, I'm not quite sure I understood.
Personality pet peeve. Like something that somebody does that just drives you crazy.
Oh, man. Indecision. People who are indecisive.
Yes. Ooh, I agree with that one. Drives me bananas.
Good.
Anyway, last one. What are your words to live by?
Oh, God. Try to be true to yourself.
Good one. Good one.
Try.
I mean, it's all we can do is try. Nobody's doing it perfect all the time.
I always try to be true to myself until I wind up in the Yacht Rock mode.
I think it's so great. Don't you love it, though?
Huh?
Don't you love? I mean, despite the fact that one, it's bringing your name back. I can't imagine being sitting there watching TV and there was like, Dave Raynor, and you're like, what?
Who?
What?
What did I do?
I'm sorry.
Where I found? You know where I got this hat?
Wow.
My wife and I went to a Yacht Rock show at the casino down in Lincoln City on the beach. And it was pouring down rain and windy, and this hat came flying across the parking lot, and I chased it.
I love it.
As it turns out, I became Yacht Rockable. So
I love it.
Who knows?
Dave, I really appreciate you spending your time with me today.
Putting up with my technical inabilities.
Listen, we got through it.
We did it.
You figured it out.
And now I know.
Now I can do it. This is really a great platform. I really do like Riverside a lot. Any little words of wisdom that you want to leave for the next artist who's struggling and at the very beginning and sleeping in a van or wanting to tour? What would your advice be to them?
Don't give up.
Yeah, that's it. That's all they got to do. All right, Dave, thanks so much. All right, bye.